But mostly it's just be a mountain biker.
Okay, sorry, we're a little bit late. Time got away. Let's bring this meeting to order at 6:33. 6:33. Oh, we're not too bad. That must be off then. Okay. Does anybody need a copy of the agenda? You have it all? Oh, you all have it first. Okay, I'm a dinosaur.
Jillian, I assume that the one that's on the website that you click on is always gonna be the latest of the latest of the latest, right? Because you said you were adding things to the agenda in communications.
Yes, but I do it on the back end, so, and then I,
But the
public-
one that the link to the agenda packet on the road advisory site is always gonna be the latest, greatest.
on the upcoming
Yes,
side, yes, yes. Roll call, tonight, our vice chair and our minutes secretary is absent. So is Roy Townsend, so, Patrick, you're stepping in as our minutes secretary. Okay, could you call the roll, please?
Jillian, Kerry,
Here.
Linda Smith,
Present.
Caroline Altomare,
Present.
Dr. Shields present, Ian absent, Groden absent, Roy Townsend absent.
Okay, and we have two guests, well, permanent guests, I guess. Chris Chang, our township project manager, and Matt Parks from OHM. Okay. Adoption of the agenda. Is there anything you'd like to change or add? Guess that is changing. Remove, move.
I would move that we try and keep things closed up by 8:30, 8:49 if we can. But that's not an agenda.
Okay.
Problem.
We'll do our best. Okay. Let's see, all in favor or approval of the agenda, vote.
Aye. Do we want to do a vote or just say unanimous?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as
There we go.
presented.
Second,
There we go. Thank you. It wouldn't be, there's no money involved, so, right, it would just be a voice call. Yeah. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? You don't get a vote. Public comment. There isn't anybody in the hall, so I guess anybody on Zoom?
We do have one person in Zoom, but no hands are up yet.
Okay,
Yep, no hands are up, no hands are raised.
sorry about the communication. For some reason, the Watts newsletter didn't print out properly. I just uploaded it into the agenda without, I mean, it looked fine in my email, but. So if anybody's interested, I can always send that to you. Well, I guess this brings us to Matt. Matt Parks, thank you for joining us tonight. You're from OHM.
Yep.
And we've been talking and you, with our committee here, we want to know what OHM can do for roads. And we're working on SAD policies for both public and private. Public will be taken care of by the Washtenaw County Road Commission unless there's something unusual. But we do plan on offering private special assessment districts, and that's where we would need engineering, outside engineering. So I'm assuming that would be you, but of course, that depends on the board and their decision.
Yep. No, that's perfect. So let me introduce myself. I know some of you on this committee. And thanks, Jillian, for letting me come in. I did hand some hard copies and I can make these available for the minutes. But what it is I was just gonna give kind of a brief couple minute synopsis of what OHM does. I know some of you that I've dealt with in different various ways within the township knows. But just to kind of give you a broad overview, kind of what we do and why we're unique to how we serve the township. OHM's been Scio Township's primary engineer since 1999, thereabouts. So obviously a lot of change has happened between then and now. I have been personally involved with Scio Township since 2005. So I graduated from Michigan Tech in 2002, started with OHM and immediately got brought into the municipal department. OHM only serves in Michigan's municipal government or quasi government. So things that aren't pure government would be like the U of M or Central Michigan University or Western or hospitals or libraries, some stuff like that. Otherwise, we're only serving DOTs, road commissions, townships, cities, villages. We'll do work for like Wayne County Airport Authority or something like that, but again, pseudo government. That's really what we specialize in. That's what our team of experts focus on. Private development is it's well within our bandwidth, and we do some of that stuff outside of the state of Michigan. It is not our focus. We're founded on municipal government. We're broken up into different disciplines. Michigan is where we were founded. We're based. We've been in business for over 60 years. We're based out of Livonia, Michigan. We have 4 original clients: Superior Township, Nipsey Township, and Washtenaw County, and Livonia, City of Livonia, and City of Farmington. Those are our 4 original clients that we were founded on, and then from there we expanded. Currently, right now, we probably do about 75 to 80% of Washtenaw County community work. We also work closely with the Road Commission. They are a client of ours. Water Resource Commissioner's Office. We also do other work with the Parks Department. So we know Roy really well from both his time at the Road Commission and the Parks Department. So we've been ingrained and based in Scio Town and Washtenaw County. We have an office in Scio Township. It's hidden. It's back behind Mancino's in the old bank building. But as we grew and more of our client base was here in Washtenaw County, we were finding that a lot of our employees are also Washtenaw County residents. They're driving to Livonia to get their equipment, just to come back and do their job, to go back to Livonia to drop off their equipment and come back at home at night. And we've basically made it, COVID really pushed us to allow people to work more remotely and then offer up more smaller offices in the communities we serve. On this first handout, it's kind of just an overview. I'm not going to go through it all, but on the back of it, there is 10 different kind of sectors that we basically do: architecture, construction engineering, GIS, which is growing and kind of folds into all of these things. Landscape architecture, urban design, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, municipal engineering. That's my department. That's where I live. Planning. You guys have a planner on staff, so we do a lot of the same things they do, but Carlisle Wortman does more of the day-to-day stuff. We specialize in more larger projects, master plannings and stuff like that. Surveying, transportation, and water. And that little kid on the water picture, that's actually my 14-year-old son. So, my wife took that picture. So, yeah. So, I mentioned I work in the municipal department. What the municipal department is, and when I graduated Michigan Tech, they're like, "Do you want to be a municipal engineer?" And I didn't know what that was. So I started with OHM and I learned real quick. That's really what, dealing with Linda and Scio View is a good example. We do a lot of plan reviews, planning commission. So Stacy and Sally, who are my colleagues at OHM, they interact with the planning commission, the ZBA. We work hand in hand with Carlisle Wortman on a lot of that, but we're there to review, and then not only review, but inspect the publicly owned utilities that are going in the ground to make sure they're built to standard spec. That also includes capital work, so smaller pathway projects and water main. We help. Really, the majority of our work that we do in Scio, though, is pass-through costs through development. So a lot of the things that we bill for is through developers that are paid and then pass through the township. However, the exception would be we do a lot of work with the utility department, a lot of the water and sewer projects, studies, and things that Eagle mandates from the township. We assist with that. So that's kind of where I live. I'm in the water, sewer, hydraulic world, and that's kind of where I specialize in. Sally and Stacy are really the site plan experts. They took that job over for me. And I think they do actually a better job than I did, to be honest. Construction engineering, I'm sorry, Jillian, you look like you have.
No, I was like, because water and sewer is so fun. I mean, is that why you went over there?
Yeah, it's the classes that I enjoyed the most, and honestly, I work for Ipsy Township, that's one of my big clients in Washington County, and Yucca, YC Way is their water and sewer authority, that's probably one of my largest clients, and I started doing water main design, and they have much older infrastructure than Scio. Scio is very lucky in that regard, and so they, are replacing a lot of their original infrastructure, and so they keep us very busy. Construction engineering, Chris Donikowski, and a lot of our staff in the Scio office are construction technicians, inspectors, surveyors. A lot of what we do, you'll see our trucks driving around, it's field services, inspection, GIS. Within our environmental water resource team, we have an ecology team. We have a lot of inspectors. So OHM has about 650 full-time employees. In the summer, we'll balloon up to close to 800 now, just with part-time inspection.
Yeah.
That's how busy we are across all the states we work in. And then really the key one that I wanted to focus on, because this is the roads committee, is the transportation page. So this one's important and kind of in a nutshell can summarize how we do, and this is, Jillian mentioned public-private. This is mostly on the public side, but working with the road commissions and MDOT and local cities, villages that own their own streets, our services are kind of summarized right there on the right-hand side under our services: traffic engineering, transportation planning, roadway and highway design, bridge and engineering, structures, and then multimodal, which is getting to be bigger and bigger, zebra pathway, for example. So if you flip to the back, it gets into the nitty gritty of that. The one thing that's not listed, and this is where I feel like this committee would be mostly interested in, is asset management. A road is an asset, and the road commission does a really good job, I think, with their annual booklets they put out, and I'm sure you may be familiar with that. If you're not, I was gonna show you and the public that's listening, how to access that, but one thing that OHM does is we Pacer rate a lot of communities' roads. The road commission does that for you guys, and they also calculate your value of your assets and how much to invest. The road funding is so underfunded statewide, countrywide, that, they make a pretty good recommendation of saying, hey, we'll take care of the primary roads and here's what we're doing, but local roads, here's your needs. We have match money available, but we can't fund everything. So one big change that the road commission made recently, and this is impactful to this committee, is the road commission just can't take care of all the local roads. They don't get enough Act 51 money in to take care of all the roads. So a subdivision like Trailwoods that everybody's familiar with, years ago, even when I started at OHM, those all would have been public roads. When they got built, they all would have been public. Now they're not. Now they're private roads. Because they don't accept them as public anymore, because those small subdivision roads, the plowing, the maintenance, the upkeep, and the replacement cost, they don't get enough money unless they're primary roads, and they don't get enough money to maintain them. So now that becomes a burden for not only the township, but the homeowners associations that are established. They have to take care of it. And really, those are county built roads. They're built to the county standard. So they're no different than what a public road would have been 10 years ago. So at Ipsy Township, where it's a little bit more mature of a township, most of their subdivisions are local county roads. So they have a larger demand. You can see their booklet, and real quick, just so everybody knows what I'm talking about, I'll share my screen. If I go to the, Can everybody see that? Okay, that's the road commission webpage. If you go to doing business with the road commission and go down to townships. Sorry. Go down to townships, click on that, scroll down and find Scio Township, and here's all the townships within Washington County. Click on Scio. And you go down, there's this helpful links, and there's the 2022, 2023, and 2024 booklet. Click on that 2024 booklet. There's a very nice report that they do annually. This is for spring of 2024, and it shows you kind of walks you through the process, but you can kind of read it, but here's your local road needs. So the township, or I'm sorry, the road commission puts together Scio Township, paved the local road needs. They estimate about $6 million of local road paved needs and about $3 million of unpaved, meaning dirt roads. And they sum it and they come up with an annual like budget that they recommend that you guys save. That excludes all private roads. So this is just local road commission owned roads and dirt roads. That's a very important number because it's guiding. And then also if you do, you know, spend some money, they have a match that they will budget and help fund. And then the important thing with the road commission too is if you budget money and work with them, they have purchasing power. So they can go and do large countywide pavement programs. They can go through and, you know, they might contract with a big paving contractor, and you're paying a unit price not only for that project, but spread across the whole county, and you get very good rates. So the road commission does a really good job with this. I know Adam Leip, I'm sure you've met him. He's great to work with. Aaron Burkholz, Matt McDonnell, all those guys. These booklets are really important for this committee, I think, to understand. The same things that are true with this assessment and how they rate roads and how they come up with the cost is really no different than private roads. The private roads are still roads. They were built towards your private road standards for the most part. You know, the older the roads, the more they probably don't meet today's current standards, but for the main part, you know, they are an asset too, and they need to be worked on. The problem is they can't be spread across the whole township. They're just within that subdivision. And in some cases, you're dealing with very few homes. So there's a little bit of a hybrid approach to that where, you know, the road commission might come in and do a mill and overlay or resurfacing or something like that. And it may, you know, be fine for a local county road, but you might have to be a little bit more creative or look at a different solution for a private road. So for the newer roads like Trailwoods or what's in Scio View or whatever, you're gonna treat those pretty much like county roads. That a lot of them have curb and gutter, they have drainage. A lot of the roads that you guys are dealing with that have SADs are open ditch, very little aggregate. You know, there's 3 inches of asphalt if you're lucky. And so there's decisions and engineering questions that have to come up. OHM and our team, we can do a high level planning number. And one thing that I wanted to bring this up is, I'll stop sharing my screen and then reshare real quick. We did this for Ypsi Township where they have very few private roads, but small local roads that are similar to what we did. And the supervisor over there asked us to, and I made this a little bit more, sorry. I made this a little generic, but we took that booklet and basically walked the public through, and this is a PowerPoint presentation example. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but we walked them through the booklet. We taught the public and the board about Paiser rating definitions and how that works, the criteria and how they rate roads and how they prioritize what roads needs to be fixed and the timing of such. And then we pulled in the booklet and we actually went through and did an audit of the road commission's booklet that they put together for Ypsi Township, just to validate how as a third party, what we thought. And honestly, that's why I can say with confidence, they do a really good job on these because it matched up fairly well. With the Paiser rating data, we showed Ypsi Township kind of the bell curve of where they need to go. And we taught them some of the methodologies, some of the, I guess, strategy in fixing roads. You know, a lot of people tend to want to fix the worst first, because if it's really bad, you're getting complaints, so you got to go fix it. But really, the key is for you all to understand is preventative maintenance and fixing those roads or treating those roads before they fall off that cliff is really what you want to educate your homeowners associations and people that are coming to you, so that you're able to treat those roads and make them last longer versus just letting them fail after 15, 20 years and then having to do a replace. You know, for every dollar you spend on preventative maintenance early on, you're probably saving about $4 later as a full replacement.
What's the ideal number to start investing? 6, 5?
You're talking dollars.
No, if the Pacer score is 6. Is that time to start investing or?
Yeah, well, theoretically, you should always be saving annually, like, so if I'm a homeowners association, and one thing we've come to learn is like having a developer seed some kind of money for the HOA just to get them started. But really, that's what's nice. So this slide is really useful. I mean, if you have a good rating, which is a Pacer rating of 8, 9, and 10, you're really saying like, you know, you're still saving and you're still spending on those. You're still doing crack sealing. So you're spending about $10,000 a road mile to do that in the first, honestly, the first 2 or 3 or 4 years of the road's existence, even if it's new. Once it gets down to that kind of that 6 range that you were talking about, now you're talking about mill and resurfacing. And really that would be the time where if you can catch it before it slides into that 4. And honestly, a lot of times you can get away with letting the slide to a 4, but once it slides down to 1, 2, and 3, you're really past the point of no return where your base is starting to fail. Not your aggregate base, but your bottom course of asphalt, and it's tougher to catch up. So this does a really good job, like, and this is a little, I think, aggressive, but it's basically saying if you're 1, 2, 3, and 4, your only options are to spend about $1 million a mile to $400,000 a mile. That's expensive. If you could treat it and take care of it when it's a 5, 6, or 7, now you're only spending $200,000 a mile. If you can take care of it when it's brand new road and 8, 9, 10, you can stretch that out, and you're maybe not getting to a fair or a poor road, you know, until 15, 20 years down the road. And these are, especially these private roads, that really they're getting the local traffic, the mailman, garbage trucks, and the Amazon guy. It's not really getting the large loads like a Jackson Road or Zebra Road is. So, and then to answer the other part of your question, stop share and go back to the road commission. I mean, this is for your local roads only, but you could put together this exact document for private roads only. They're basically saying Scio Township, to take care of their needs, really should be investing and saving about $800,000 to $900,000 a year. And I mean, that's a conservative look, but there's a $133,000 local match. And if they need you to save, if they're recommending you save $891,000, and do some quick math and find out about $750,000 a year would probably more than fulfill your need. And then your average Pacer rating, if it's 4 today and you do follow this program, you're probably increasing your average Pacer rating over time. And so one thing that we did for Ypsi Township, and then I'll shut up and open up for questions, is, you know, one thing that they wanted to know is, Matt, their number was closer to $2 million a year. And they're, you know, more populous and dense township, but that's a big number for anybody. So they were like, can we, is that even reasonable? And do you agree with it? And what would, their goal was not necessarily to fix all their roads all at once. That's impractical for any township, but they really wanted to know, what do we need to do to just improve our average Pacer rating as a community year over year? And I mean, even if it's like a 10th better, so if they were 4.4, how would next year we become 4.5, 4.6, and just show some average growth? We put together some charts, and we actually showed them this graph. And what's interesting is, you know, at $2 million a year, basically shot them from in 2021 as a 3.5 and would get them up to a 5.5 at a pretty steep incline. But maybe that's a little too aggressive and they have other needs and funding to take care of, but. You know, they're kind of looking at maybe splitting the hairs between the red and the blue line here, and that's more like a $1.6 million. That's a $400,000 difference. It still puts them on the right path. It's still improving the roads year over year. And it's something that they can swallow. And then as grant money comes up, as they participate in Watts, as they look at other opportunities, ARPA money, other things come their way, they're able to maybe overmatch on certain years and grow it. They also have worked really close with, they're in a unique position because Yucca owns the water and sewer, so they partner with Yucca and the road commission and do their asset management plan and overlay their water and sewer utility replacement program with the roads, and they're able to maximize their dollar spent. Now, Scio is in a little bit different position. You don't own any roads. You own your own utilities. There's not a separate entity, and your utilities are really new. So you don't have that problem yet. So, but there's other ways that you can parlay, you know, other capital improvement jobs and think about, you know, let's not do this road if we know we're gonna get in there and do this utility project in a year or two, and we'll limp along. So a lot of it is strategy, a lot of it's just good common sense, but everything that the road commission is doing, and that's why I wanted to show this to you all, is that booklet and the basis of it is really no different than what the township might want to consider doing for its private roads. It's private roads, so that's something that you would have to think is necessary, spending money on something that township doesn't own. But over the years, you know, we've helped with, you know, OHM has done some work with SADs in the past, not a whole lot. You've had different folks, you know, participate and help lead the SAD march. And a lot of it was, you know, what will get us by? And the biggest problem and the hardest thing to do is, you know, an engineering firm like us, we have, you know, PE stamps, and we want to make sure we're building things right and making sure we are building things to a level of service that will last. Generally speaking, we want an asphalt road to last 15 years, and with maintenance, maybe 25 or 30 and get by. Concrete roads, similar kind of lifespan. A lot of the fixes that sometimes HOAs want to do is they just want to slap down 1.5 inches on what's out there and call it good. And honestly, that might be okay for certain circumstances where you have good soils, you have good drainage, and it might buy you another 8 to 12 years, and then they're ready to do it again. But in some circumstances where you have poor drainage, the road wasn't built to standard in the first place, you know, an engineer will look at it and say, I think you're gonna have to spend, you know, a certain amount of money more. And so what OHM does is we use planning level numbers to kind of estimate based on physical observation. And this is kind of a good chart. Like if it's really in bad shape and it has curb and gutter and all that good stuff, I mean, it's $1 million a mile to replace. If it's more of a mill and overlay situation and it's, you know, not beyond its useful life and the base is still good and it drains well, then you're talking about 200, maybe 300,000 a mile at the most. And then the preventative stuff is really what this group should be focused on, is getting with the HOAs and saying, hey, you know, so we don't have to do this monstrous SAD for you in 4 or 5 years. You could really do some crack sealing now, spend 10 grand and on your mile of road, and maybe you don't have to come and talk to us for another 10 years. So it's an education process for the public. It's an education process for the homeowners association. No one on a homeowners association wants to spend any money. I'm a member of one of mine. Whenever there's a capital, I kind of just want to hide in a corner and not think about spending money because my kids are expensive enough. But honestly, you got to treat it like an asset. You got to treat a road like a roof. You got to treat a road like a car. And the more you defer and the less you save, the more painful it's going to be in the long run. So that's kind of where OHM, I think, can help more than anything. Is like, I don't want to just get a call and say, hey, Matt, come out and design this. This road's in really bad shape. We would like to kind of help you or be a resource to you all so we can help educate the HOA presidents or the people there, and those boards change over quick. But really, maybe a booklet or a packet or an FAQ or something that you guys could produce to kind of guide them and help make better decisions, so then when they do come to you for an SAD, you could say simple things like, have you done soil borings? When's the last time you did something to your road? What did you do when you did something to the road? What's your existing budget? And what's realistic? Because those questions, if you answer those upfront, it can save a lot of pain and agony. Because a lot of people don't know what they need, and they know Joe the paver down the street, and he said they could fix everything for $80,000 and that'll all be good. And then you talk to an engineer and it's like $480,000. So anyway, so those are all things that we help in various ways. Yes, we're public. Yes, we do this on a public scale, but I represent a homeowners association in Ann Arbor, Getty's Lake off of Huron Parkway. They run their own government like a municipal government. They honestly have a budget bigger than a lot of municipal governments, and they do a really fantastic job. And they did a full capital improvement and asset management plan, and they follow it to a T. So there's some homeowners associations that really understand the value of doing that, and then there's others that don't. And the challenge for the township is how to guide them, not make decisions for them, because you can't. So.
Right. So do they have to take care of the roads in a HOA?
Yeah, they're private. I mean, they don't have to.
They don't have to, okay. I don't know if that's a law or if they.
No, I mean, there's bylaws and stuff, but I mean, really, it comes down to the board's decision. And I mean, Getty's, is for an example, made a decision to budget and save for their road fund. So, and their roofs and their ponds and their pool and everything that they own. And they put together a capital improvement plan. And, I mean, they spent over $3.5 million on their replacing their roads, but they did it over a period of 8 to 9 years, and they're done. Now, they're not done forever. They didn't stop saving now that they're got brand new roads. They're slowly building it back up for 15 years from now, and they have to start all over again. So it's a hard thing to get used to, but especially these new subdivisions that get built, the HOA is kind of picked out of a basket on who wants to volunteer. And a lot of the people don't necessarily know what they're doing, and they're learning it on the fly. And the infrastructure that the developer turns over is new for 1 year, and then it's starting to get older, right? So our job, OHM's job, and our municipal group, Sally and Stacy and Chris, it's our job to make sure when the infrastructure gets turned over, not only is the public infrastructure in good shape for the township to accept, the water and sewer is the two things that you guys own in those communities, but making sure the roads are in good shape. So when we turn it over to the HOA, they're not accepting something that's already gotten beaten to a pulp. The storm sewer, we have recently on larger subdivisions, made the developers go through and make county drainage districts so they can go to the water resources and help get assistance through them. But some littler developments, like commercial developments, that's all private storm. And so we want to make sure even for those landlords or those developers that own and maintain those commercial centers, that the storm sewer is in good shape when they take it over, because eventually that'll all have to get replaced. So there's a lot, so.
Can you cite any other examples of subdivisions that have done a really good job? So it's Getty's.
Subdivisions that we do
That you've seen doing a good job of managing their. Properties.
Getty's is the one I can
What was it, is Getty's what?
Getty's Lake Condominium Association is. I personally work with that, so I know it. I know there's others out there. In Oakland County and Livingston County, there's some, and I will say, like, Getty's is an exception. They're Ann Arbor, right? And they know they'll spend a little bit more and budget a little bit more. A lot of communities are more rural, in the more rural areas will tend to, cheat it a little bit more, but that's okay. You can just cap roads if your level of service, your expectations is, I'm only gonna get 5 years out of this, and they understand it. So it really boils down to a financial and risk tolerance. If you wanna spend $10,000 for the best, best roof, $20,000 for the best roof you can buy, and you know it'll last you 20 years or 30 years, you'll do it. Or maybe you're only gonna live there for a little bit longer, you want a new roof, so the house looks great, but you know it's only gonna last 7 years and it costs half as much. So somebody's gotta make that decision, and it's no different than a roof. It's really the same exact kind of concept, so.
So we're starting to work on the sort of documents, actually been working on it for some time, the sort of documents you've described. We put it on the website, and we're just starting to finish up with public and turn our minds to private. Any good examples that you know of that we can use to create those documents? I mean, I think I would love to get can you send us your presentation?
Oh, yeah, I can send this to you. It was a little large, so I didn't email it earlier, but I think I have a lot of like public documents, and I think the booklet is a good way to start, but
That's great.
yeah, I think representing as many communities as we do, especially if I talk to my mid-Michigan or northern Michigan communities and stuff like that, they probably have a lot of those documents, but if not, I mean, a simple Google search or just talking to some of my other municipal connections, I think there's probably like guides for asset management for roads. The Paiser rating manual is actually a great way to start, and I extracted some of it for this presentation for the other township. It's just walking them through the Paiser rating and kind of understanding like the bell curve of not waiting to fix your worst roads first. That can be boiled down to a couple of graphics, and really just having somebody like Roy on this committee that really understands this. I mean, he's lived it and knows it, but I mean, some very simple like tips and tricks or ways to think it. And I mean, you could probably boil it down to like a 6 or 7 page document for HOAs as a guide to, a guide to reducing stress for your future SAD or something like that. Those are like a planning document or something like that I think that we could help with, but I think you have resources that whether you decide to, pay a consultant to do that or not, you probably have resources that can do it. So when we were talking to that other township, what was their desired outcome? They wanted us to validate the Washington County Road Commission booklet. They wanted supplemental information to help make better CIP decisions and decide appropriate funding level. So here they were talking about like what fixes, and same thing, you could walk your HOAs through the same thing, like what fix. A lot of times, can you chip seal a private road? That might buy you 10 years. Can you mill and overlay it, or is it just too far gone? Gravel road's a little bit different, and honestly, I would lean on the road commission's advice, or if you are meeting with them, regularly, or Roy, or even if you're meeting with Adam, those guys know what they're doing. They treat the gravel roads, they know the gravel roads. We don't do a lot of that. I mean, it's the same type of engineering and same kind of concept, but they really do a lot of, gravel is really just endless maintenance. And they really, I think, would be a good guide for you, versus, your paved asphalt engineered roads. So,
Matt, we talked a little bit about, I think I shared with you, we're trying to create like a GIS. I know that the road commission has a GIS, but we've kind of looked into that, but then there's more that we wanted to add to it. For example, the history of a road, the maintenance or the improvement of a road going back in history, and keeping that somewhere. Also, I guess it would be more like a Paiser system as well, because which roads do we focus on? Is it by section? Is it by the road itself, or,
so this is a map of all roads, local roads, not primary, local roads in the township, Ipsy Township, that are 3s and 4s.
Yeah, okay.
And so we Paiser rated everything and we pulled it into, this is a GIS map.
Well, is there a list of the roads? And it's not a map, because that's where, do we have the the township wide, I don't think we have that, or I don't have it with me today. You know, where we had for 10 years, you know, and then these are the roads we did this year, and then
I don't have.
you don't have that,
You just mean, Julian, like a list of all of your private roads,
all of the roads. We were thinking of, you know, private,
local,
local, gravel.
primary, you
and-
don't need to really worry about.
No, yeah, we don't even look at them when we're driving on them. So it just, you know, something like that, but you know, having a map is great. We have lots of maps, but it's like, oh, this section has more traffic than this section.
Yeah,
And how many private roads are in this section versus, you know, and then how many gravel and whatnot.
yeah. Having a GI, so RoadSoft, when it's a software Michigan Tech developed, you know, you use RoadSoft and you input the Paisley rating per segment. So every section of road is rated between intersection to intersection. And you're always rating it on the worst section of that section. And that kind of governs everything. And really what RoadSoft does is it'll take a composite of everything. And it'll basically turn and spit out the recommended fixes for the different roads that you put in and input in what types of fixes do we like as a community. And then it'll spit out a recommended number and budget. And that's exactly what the road commission's doing to come up with those numbers. And so you could do that. You could rate all of your roads. The road commission's rating all of your local, and they're doing their own thing on their primary roads, but private, they don't touch. The township could easily go and, you know, earmark some money to do, you know, and maybe that's just part of your booklet and your FAQ that you would put out, but you could do an initial Paisley rating on a lot of the private roads. You could create a GIS of them. You would need to create a list of all the private roads in the township. You don't Paisley rate gravel roads. You just don't.
So how do we fit the gravel roads in?
That I would have to look into a little bit, but that's where you would keep that separate and you would just honestly, I would probably want to talk to Adam on how they came up with the, in your booklet, and I'm clicking around on my PowerPoint, but they have a recommended number of paved, non-paved road needs, and that I don't know how they assess that. I'm thinking they know what they're adding a gravel overlay or doing some kind of maintenance, creating additional gravel. I think you just did something to Liberty or one of the roads. And so they have costs per mile for that's how they're generating that. But your paved local would be no different. You would Paisley rate them. You would come up with a need. And then based on what you need, the ones that are pretty new and have 8, 9, 10, you're basically just talking to them saying, you just need to crack seal and make sure you're watching how things are draining and taking care of your storm sewer system, or making sure your ditches are clean and the driveway culverts are cleared out every once in a while. Your fair roads, your 5, 6, and 7s, and honestly, I would maybe even on a private road, slide the 4s up into there. Look at mill and overlay. Look at doing just a resurfacing, spending $200,000 a mile, which a lot of these private subdivisions have less than a mile of road within them. And your poor, those are the toughies. I mean, those are the ones where you're having real honest talk. And I feel like the SADs you guys deal with, that's where they're at, because they're coming to you because their roads are shot. And they probably have more than just pavement problems. They probably have drainage problems. They probably were built in the 70s or 80s and not much has been done to them. And it's time. And so a lot of times they'll say, well, what did we do on the road up on the north side? Well, they're sitting on high, well draining sand, and they spent $200,000 and capped the road, and that'll be great for them. Go down by Liberty Road where it's wet and marshy and mucky and everything's failing. And somebody says, well, we just spent $200,000 on that mile and you're a mile, so it should cost $200,000 for you. And then you get in there and you're like, oh no, that's not your situation. And it sets people up for disappointment. And then they blame, well, the township told me it was only this much. That's where you can get into trouble. And that's really where you need I think an educational process or somebody to guide them when they come to you. Who can they talk to? A site walk usually does wonders. And again, no engineer I know would sit there and just try to create work or infrastructure that's not necessary. I mean, really, you want, this is, can be pretty simple and easy and get in and get out. And I mean, HOAs don't have that kind of money sitting around. So usually you're trying to do things at the most economical way possible to get in and get out. But there's also a responsibility to build it right and have the discussion, the risk discussion, like how long what's your expectations? How long do you want this road to last? You know, if it was built in 1980, you haven't done anything and it's lasted you 30 years, you want it to last another 30 years before we're back here again, or do you just need it to last another 10? So those are all engineering decisions that need to be thought about, and there's a tolerance. And honestly, it might come to a point where they just don't want to spend money to do it right. Then you don't need an engineer. They can go hire any paver they want. And it can be privately done and the township doesn't have to be involved.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
Have you seen any communities, so the township, hold a meeting that's organized around private roads? Invite the HOAs, come or they won't, but to give them a warning, either when they're getting started or our sons.
I don't see you don't see the townships or villages or cities necessarily organize them.
That'd be a good idea.
Well, what I do see is an HOA meeting and they might ask the village or the city or the township their opinion, and they might have like the township manager and their engineering consultant or their DPW guy
What
come.
I was hearing was an education process.
There is, yeah. So like,
That to be inviting HOAs in
yeah.
would be a way to help them no matter what stage they're.
So a really good example of that is in Milford in Oakland County. We were designing a road, Peters Road, that was gravel. We converted it into paving. There's 2 private subdivisions that are built off of it. And they heard word of Peters Road coming. And so what they did was they organized themselves to talk to the city manager, village manager, and us, and coordinate a way that they could work with the contractor that won the Peters Road job to also do their roads at the same time. So they organized it, but the village allowed them to use the village's resources to help aid them and get the product done without, and also it was in the village's best interest because they didn't want to pave their brand new road and then drag all that construction equipment across their brand new road to do their subdivision after. So we coordinated it together. And that was a little bit of the HOA hearing about it, a little bit of us guiding it, and a little bit of the village's intuition to say, yeah, we don't want this to happen. So it kind of takes a village, no pun intended.
So did they do a special assessment or did they save?
They just privately funded it.
Oh, they saved up for it? Oh, okay, see, I think we're a lot of encouraging them to save, over time, versus going through the special assessment process.
Now, the SAD, I can't recall all the examples, but when there is an issue where they just don't have it and the roads are bad and it's becoming a safety issue, or there's children that are walking on the road and there's potholes everywhere and the buses are, splashing them, or it's just a safety concern, like Ypsi Township, I know, has orchestrated SADs to go ahead and help fund that, and they might have even discounted the payback at some percentage because they wanted it done, but they've done it where they've helped finance it over a period of 5 or 10 or 20 years, but depending on the situation and the amount of money they needed, where they needed something really, really bad. And I think that's where Scio's at. Scio's like, we'll help you and we'll just set up an SAD and you'll pay it back to the tax roll. But that's really a case by case basis, and a lot of townships, especially the more rural ones, they're really not staffed or positioned to really implement that. Larger communities, I think, do, but the thing is the larger the community, the less private roads they have.
Yeah.
They don't really have a lot, so it's unique. And like, I can only think of like, I don't know, a handful of paved private roads in Ypsi Township. A lot of their private roads are more gravel in nature. And they really don't require a lot of maintenance. So.
I think-
It's gonna be a bigger deal with the road commission not accepting local subdivision roads. This is gonna become a more common thing, and like, just thinking about some of the areas of like the uplands and like at the newer developments that I just mentioned, those are subdivisions that are gonna need, help in the future. And the homeowners, if it's a dense enough development, it's palatable. But if it's, some of the subdivisions are small, like 6-unit things. Those tend to be the larger houses, so maybe they can afford it, but maybe not, it's case by case.
Okay, any more questions for?
I have a question. We were talking about the Scio Township-wide road millage, which has just expired, and trying to figure out road funding for the township-wide moving into the future. And with Roy and many hours of calculation, there's some numbers that have been sort of surmised for what numbers we might be looking for, but trying to strengthen our position as we look for road funding in the future. Is there any aspect of OHM that would be helpful to us as we're forecasting the township-wide road needs? Roy's got a good number. We've got solid numbers coming from the road commission and their historical base.
Yeah, I mean, we would probably use a similar methodology as this, using Paiser. Probably a little bit of what Roy's doing is probably similar to what we would probably do. I think, kind of how Brenda or Ypsi Township used us to just vet and double check the road commission's math, and then look at kind of a happy medium and work that in with capital. I think capital is one thing, your water, your sewer, your drainage projects and stuff like that. Township, I know we're meeting here in another week or so about the CIP. I think the township's making a huge first step in getting a CIP. We had one. It's well over a decade old, and 90% of it's been implemented, and it was basically a 7-page document with a spreadsheet. I think this is the first step into becoming a little bit more sophisticated and having a real hardcore CIP. I think it's a living, breathing document. So OHM helping with just keeping that alive. Somebody being attending and participating in lots and making sure you know where road funding is coming from. Being connected with state government and politicians and asking for earmarks and having a priority list and what to ask for and when to ask for is important. And I think just making sound judgment on making sure you're spending money on the right roads at the right time, catching those roads before it's too late. I mean, all the things that, and I don't know exactly what Roy calculated or how he did it, but I mean, I'm sure him being a county highway engineer for many, many years, he probably is using standard tried and true methodology and calculating that. But I mean, when you look at your local roads, I mean, you could very simply do a back of the napkin calculation on your paved private roads. You could do a quick calculation and say, we have $8 million in needs, 6 million of which, and I don't know if I can get those numbers right, but $6 million of local, $2 million of gravel. And we have this many miles, it's that many, our need is this many dollars per mile. Then you can do the same calculation. How many miles of private roads do we have? How many paved and gravel do we have? You could almost interpolate the same need. And then you could do a Paiser rating to back it up and double check it. And then I think it's more of a grassroots type thing of HOA by HOA, neighborhood watch or whatever meetings. And then you probably have a good, fair and poor recommendation guide, and you sit down with them and educate them. And I think that's really the township's responsibility to help them. But if you're staffed for it, and a lot of townships don't do it. I think like some of the more rural townships that don't have bigger government, people are in for a rude awakening in 10, 20 years. A lot of the subdivisions that were built in the early 2000s are coming due. So.
And just like one more step. So I'm falling back on the recent fire millage attempt. And the lessons learned, if you will. So they had some fairly good numbers extrapolated about, this is what we're trying to pull money for. And if you don't do this, this is the other scenario. Either you approve the millage or this is the funding that will be available to you. Scio Township's yearly budget has not really saved money for roads. We get an allocation every year based on now what we're asking for, trying to give them an informed decision. Is there, I'm just trying to work with the resources that we may have through Scio Township with OHM now. Is there a way that OHM could help us with the other side of the coin if the millage is not accepted?
Yeah, so the last one I did, and it's almost time to do it again. 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago, we helped Milford with their village road millage. They did it on their own several years prior to that, and their vote literally tied, so it failed. Which was unbelievable. Yeah, it was like, I don't know how many voters turned up on it. It's a 9,000 person population village, and I think the votes were like 1,100 to 1,103 to 1,103 or something like that. It was crazy. So we did more of a grassroots kind of, I don't want to say a campaign for it, but kind of like a, hey, not to scare you, but if you don't pass a millage and take care of this soon, your average Paiser rating right now is 3.1. It's going to go down to 2.5, and literally nobody's going to want to come here to drive down your roads. So we kind of gave the whole Paiser rating, taught them all about the bell curve. We had multiple public meetings where we gave presentations on. The village spent some money to do Paiser rating, and they kind of gave them that shock and awe thing. And then on top of that, the DDA director and the village manager set up. I want to say I participated in probably 3 or 4, but we went to some of the larger homeowners association, condo associations that lived on private roads that say, why do we care? We live in a private road. Well, if you want to enjoy your beautiful town and your village and make it nice, you got to do that. So we did some grassroots meetings just at their homeowner association's president's basement. Did about 3 or 4 of them with the village, and then the village did probably 12 more without us. Once they kind of saw how we did the meeting, and they used our PowerPoint. We also did like an audio radio commercial, almost like a podcast that they aired multiple times on their website. And it really helped, and the numbers flipped. Instead of being tied, it was like almost 3/4 yes, 1/4 no. So it was important thing that, I don't say OHM was the difference. I just think that they had a strategy, and they used OHM as one of their strategic ways to do it. Another engineering firm or another planning firm probably could have helped them just as much, but I'm proud of that one. That's my hometown. So, and I mean, they've gone from, like I said, really low, like nearly a 2 point something, and they're creeping up on at like a 5 point something now. So, and I mean, I think most communities try to strive for like 5.5. That's really a good average.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. So what you did there is the education and the communication. Because, they come to us right at the last, our roads are terrible, but if they were educated all along, they would have been
Yeah.
either saving or maintaining all along.
Oh, villages are all about trust and transparency, and honestly, everybody thinks a village is trying to sneak something by somebody, and really it's just, hey, you can spend a little bit of money now or a whole lot more later, and really, you don't have to be an economist or an accountant to know, saving a little bit every year and doing a little bit every year is always more economical than waiting till the end and doing it all at once. I mean, the more you do now, even with inflation, the way it is, I mean, waiting till later is just gonna cost more.
Yeah.
So.
Well, any more questions?
I just,
Go ahead.
just terminology thing, the Paiser rating, who actually determines a Paiser rating for a road? Does that have to be done by an engineering firm or is it done by a township?
Somebody that's certified, so I mean, we could get Chris certified, it's pretty easy. But typically what happens is OHM has probably 20-25 people in Southeast Michigan that are certified. Some communities don't want anything to do with it and they say OHM goes, Paiser rate a road, so 2 engineers in a truck will go around with a guy with a GPS and a laptop will sit there, and as you drive the roads light up and you type in the number. Some communities are like, hey, teach us how to do this. And Chris would drive the car and we'd have the engineer sit next to it and do it the first time, and then we'd slowly train them to just take it over. I mean, OHM's MO has always been like, sure, we'll help you and we'll do it. And if you want to pay us to do it every year, that's fine. But really what we'd like to do is empower you to learn how to do it, so you don't have to call us every single time. And then we'll help if you get stuck or you're in a pinch or you need help. So like City of Royal Oak, it takes us over a week to Paiser rate the roads. We could do Scio townships in a couple days. It wouldn't take long at all. But Royal Oak, we do it in about a week. There's hundreds of miles of roads, and we'll actually rotate. We'll every 2.5 hours, we'll switch and drop off one city person, another city person comes in. So they're cross-training their staff so they can do it. It's kind of nice. So I mean, again, I don't think it's your responsibility to Paiser rate all of Scio's roads because it's road commission's already doing it. So that's a nice aid, but your private roads, you don't have that many. And if you're not Paiser rating gravel, I mean, OHM could literally Paiser rate your roads in hours, not days. So it's not hard to do.
When you mentioned gravel, you're synonymously gravel and dirt mean same thing.
Yes.
The technical is gravel.
Okay.
Dirt is when there's no
Yeah.
gravel.
Road stuff's weird. Road stuff will never recommend you hard surface, convert a gravel road to a hard surface because
I'm sorry, say that again?
it will, Paiser and road soft in the methodology will never recommend to pave a gravel road. Not because it's not the right thing to do, just because from an asset standpoint, you're just making it more expensive, then you gotta maintain that, but like. The reason why you would pave a gravel road is for safety, dust, and traffic. And if your road's getting too much traffic, you're gonna spend more on gravel maintenance year over year over year. You might as well pave it. And honestly, the number one reason is safety. You know, you get too much traffic, you get the washboards, it's just a constant mess. That's why we did the one in Milford. Peters Road is a cut through road. The dust, the accidents, the washboards, the drainage, the flooding, people that lived on that road couldn't even go outside in the summer. It was so bad. Paved it's beautiful. So
What's GIS?
graphic information system, it's basically an electronic database in a map format. So you can click on any of these roads here and different attributes will pop up. And in this case, the attributes are the Paiser rating. But Scio has a GIS, it's in its infancy, but we have a very solid water and sewer GIS that we use on a regular basis.
We could create or implement for roads.
Yeah. Yeah, and the county has the maps and the database, and I think even the county GIS has the private road shown. So it's pretty easy for us to get that data, and then we just have to verify and probably spend some time with the planner and maybe Chris or somebody at the township and say, make sure we have all these private roads, and then we just basically create layers over them. And I mean, it's pretty easy to do, I think.
The GIS is a subscription.
So
Or do we own-
ArcGIS, yeah, and I don't wanna butcher this, but yeah, I have GIS experts that I really rely on, but yeah, you subscribe. Scio has GIS, you pay ArcGIS annual dues, and it's a software.
And to add
already
roads
have
to
it?
that, would it be another?
No, so a lot of the data that's out there, like if the county owns the data, they can share it. And they make it available, and like, oh, wait, so your water and sewer layer, we got sick of using paper maps for developers that would call us. And so we OHM on our own dime, just because it was like so counterproductive for us to spend all this time and charge money to create the same map over and over. On our own dime, we've created GIS map and we own it and we maintain it. We've turned it over to Brandon so he can use it for his use, but I mean, we created it. Your GIS is what we created. Now, you've started using it like in the past. I think Jim Murdy started using it for other reasons, for assessing for this. I think you guys are starting to use different things, and I think we've had multiple meetings here with the township to try to kind of corral it and all build it off of one database. We have a proposal actually that we're working with Chris and Brandon on, and that should be, I think Sally's in charge of that one, so I think it's been shared and out there, so it might be coming to the board soon.
Okay, good. Well, anything to help us streamline our work,
Yep.
you know, help our
So-
staff.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, honestly, and I've said this to you, Jillian, but I mean, if you guys are talking about a topic and you're interested or just want OHM as a resource or to help answer questions, or you're dealing with a specific SAD and you need our help, don't like a phone call or an attendance at a meeting is not, doesn't necessarily come with a bill. We're happy to listen and help and advise, quick phone calls here and there. And then if there's projects that come out of that, that's when we'll write a proposal to you or help you. But I mean, a lot of times it's helpful to even know about these meetings. We can always, if it's not me, it's Sally. If it's not Sally, it's Stacy. If you want us just to tune in because you're talking about specific projects or you have some questions, especially if we can zoom in, it's really easy for
Yeah,
us to
definitely.
be there. I don't mind coming in once in a while too.
I was surprised you were here. I thought you were gonna be here
Yeah.
by Zoom, but yeah, we meet the first Wednesday of the month, so, and we're working on these projects. So
Yeah, and I'd rather you guys just, if it's a lot easier if you are gonna need our services or whatever, just to be aware of what's coming and so we can be ready for it. And then also just making sure like, I think you're in great hands, like, knowing Roy for as long as I have and knowing that he knows what he's doing when it comes to roads and stuff. You don't need us to be at every meeting, but if you need just us hearing, and that's kind of why I attend all the BOT meetings, just knowing what you're talking about prepares me better to be able to respond and help you guys if you need us, so.
So true, and you have been there for us. Thank you. Okay, any
What's CIP?
capital improvement plan? So that will be April 16th, a special meeting,
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, and this is a Tuesday, that's right. In between the two regular board meetings.
I will probably be here in person for that, and then Sally and Mark will be a presenter at that, be zooming in on that.
This is 16, April 16th. Well, thank you so much.
you.
We appreciate this.
Incredibly helpful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity. I've been always wondering what happens at these RAC meetings.
We have a party, can you tell? Could you send us that presentation?
Yeah, I will.
Okay,
And you guys all have hard copies. I'll email these to digitally, so it's all.
yes, and we'll upload those into the minutes.
Okay. I appreciate it. You don't need me to stick around for the rest of the
No,
meeting?
not unless you want to have some more fun.
I'll go hang out with my kids.
Yes, definitely. Oh, enjoy. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Jillian, I wrote all over this. I think your idea is the right one. I
Oh,
wrote all over this.
Patrick, you're welcome to have mine.
Great, thank you.
wait a minute.
I have a clean copy.
Oh, yes, I wrote
I got a
it
whole
too.
stack of copies right here.
Oh, wait, here's some more.
I really don't need it. I'm pretty well
You need
versed.
to keep yours though.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot of information. I think, yeah, it'll be good. We'll be needing that.
So, Jillian,
Hmm.
one idea came to mind as he was talking about getting information out is we've got those 4 times a year, we've got space in the newsletter.
Mhm.
This might be setting the stage for the millage, just talking about the state of our roads. And the need to do long-term planning might be a set of topics that we should focus on.
Okay, so I created a task list. Did you, or not, I'm sorry, I did create a task list, but what I think you're talking about is in the policy. There is where the newsletter. And, so we'll need to keep track of different ideas for articles, so that would be one. I don't know exactly, unless could we put that in the minutes somewhere? Or should we I just want to make sure that we keep track of things and we don't lose it. So where would we keep this type of information?
I'll keep
A
it.
suggestion for a future newsletter, so the summer newsletter is gonna be the next one coming up. I can't remember, we just got that list. That was in the agenda for the last meeting.
Yeah, it's in here too. Because we didn't get to it, so
But I like Patrick's turn of phrase to set the stage.
Mhm.
What's that? His entire few paragraphs is about the millage, or if it just states, you know, the community average goal for the PACER rating is 5.5. Scio Township's roads currently are 8.
And if you want to see what your road score is.
well,
Here's a document or whatever.
right, but we have to be clear, not all roads have a rating.
Right.
So if they have a gravel road, they're, yes. Okay,
And then when you if you're gonna be doing that in the newsletter, I think you're gonna have to explain why we should even give a rip about a PACER rating. The average citizen would say, why do I care? 1.5, 4.3, 2.2, why would I give a rip? I mean, yes,
Cost.
but I'm just saying, but for the average person who's not dealing with road stuff, it's like.
I
And
think that's a really important part of the message we want to send is why you should care
yeah, so
and how it's going to cost you a lot less to do it.
maintaining something rather than waiting till it's,
And in the millage, we have proposed that there will be money set aside to maintain the roads. That's part of what you're paying for. Now, that's only public roads.
public roads, right?
Right.
Right,
But that's most of the
Yeah.
community lives in public roads. There's like 3,000 people live off of Scio Ridge. There's only 18,000 in the community. I mean, just think about some of these subdivisions.
yeah, so, well. But the newer subdivisions that are coming in, those are the private.
Right.
Yeah, I was thinking, that's why Polo Fields is public, because back then, when they built that, all the
Same-
roads were
same with
public,
ours.
yes,
Yeah.
because,
Yeah,
well, see, that's
roads-
where when we have our list of all the roads and they, what they are. Gravel or, private, public, gravel or, paved, then we'll be able to,
Roy had told us once it's something that people really don't know. That the
Right.
township, that the road commission had 10 years ago, whatever X is, decided they can't do them anymore. People don't really know that. They're quite surprised.
that surprised me, to learn that tonight. That's pretty significant.
right, so we have Scio View is private. Heritage Woods will be private when it's built, Woodview. Yeah, so all the new ones, so that we could have something educational for those. I don't know how, like Woodview. I think those are all rentals. Who's going to maintain those roads?
Property.
Well,
It's not a developer anymore, it'll be the apartment association. So it's not an HOA, but it's the,
for each of those, units or the sections of units, I
I
guess,
don't know, I don't know what the ownership is.
Yeah, so how would we get the message out to them? But I guess we can just, you know, create something and then do our best to.
I'm wondering if like for Woodview, typically they have development agreements. If we were to look at the development agreement, there should be standard paragraphs in it that state who is responsible for paths, roadways, all of that maintenance. It's going to fall back on the apartment complex, whoever the owners are in that complex. There should be, I'm guessing, if we look at the development
true.
agreement, there should be standard paragraphs of it.
That's true, yes. Okay, Patrick, did you write down the idea for,
I'm in the process of doing that.
oh, you do, oh, that's what you're doing, okay. Well, I know you're taking the minutes at the same time, so I don't,
Well, I'm taking minutes that are more detailed than Bob's, but not a lot more detailed.
yes, thank you. So, should we move on to the unfinished business? It's 10 minutes to 8. So we have about 40 minutes, but we have a lot of work to do in, with our roads advisory committee, and we're not getting through the list. So I don't know how we're gonna break this down and get through it. I mean, not tonight, but I'm just talking about, you know, for everything that we need to do. How about this? Let's work on the policy revisions and the task list and the minutes. We'll put aside the sad primer, the nuts and bolts for now. And
Like nuts and bolts better?
yeah, actually, because that makes, I think that would be very clear to everybody. Primer, you know, we're gonna get into.
Yep.
Yeah. So is that
I suggest
okay?
We changed the title of that paper to the nuts and bolts of this.
I like that better.
Yeah,
It's very clever.
A little more concrete.
Okay, so we'll change that. And I did go through, this is my dry erase board that I just got. I'm so excited, such a nerd. But so I started with the primer or the nuts and bolts on this side, and then I was like, but I've gotta, let me go through PA 188 and, you know, because it's not really like one thing, here, do this first, do that. They mix it all together, so since I've been through the process and Patrick's been through the process, then I was able to put it, you know, this is the process for the township officials, what we need to go through in order to meet PA 188. So like the first one is a petition, signatures validated. Number 3 is the township shall prepare plans and describing the improvement. Number 4, notice to parcel owners for public hearing, then public hearing number 1 and what goes into that. And then there's public hearing number 2 after the completion of the improvement, blah, blah, blah. So that's what we need to put the nuts and bolts here and make sure that this,
Did we cross?
Yeah.
Did they?
yeah, because the nuts and bolts doesn't have the second public hearing in it that I could,
That does.
It does.
not the policy, but the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, it does.
Really? Because I just read it through it today and I
I read through it earlier today.
unless
On
I'm
page-
missing some
on page
pages.
2,
What was that?
On page 2, if the district decides to move forward, the township board of trustees schedules a second hearing to confirm the assessment role for the project and the so on, so on.
Well, that's the
Okay.
petition process, but the petition process is the first hearing. Like after the petition, that's the first hearing. The second hearing is after the improvement's complete and they set the role. And that's where I didn't see that in here.
Well, according to flow chart, the second hearing comes after the detailed estimation from the road commission.
No,
According
that's,
to the flow chart.
yeah, no, the second public hearing is after the completion of the improvement. According to PA 188.
Well, the flow chart says that. You look at the flow chart, it says second hearing with residents is after the detailed estimation where the road commission engineers provided detail.
So where's the first public hearing?
First public hearing. See, I have some confusions about this flow chart. Again, since I come at it with like non-educated eyes, because I looked at it just going, parts of this don't make sense to me. According to flow chart, the first public hearing comes, communication with residents established, township staff to evaluate, residents decide to proceed and get a petition, then there's the first hearing. According to the flow chart.
Yeah, see, this is, that second public hearing should be after the improvement, that the second public hearing is when they set the roll. So that means everything's complete, then we set the roll. So, okay, let's,
But, so. Is this gonna live somewhere?
in my truck. No.
How are you gonna keep it from being erased?
Well, I'll take it home. I don't, I mean, I'll just rub up against it with my clothes, but there, I don't have anybody else to, I mean, I could take a picture of it
That would be an excellent idea.
and then send it
because
to
you put
everybody.
some time on it.
Okay, we'll do that.
And that way we have.
Yeah, and then on this side is where we'll do the, okay, so we're not gonna do this tonight.
Right.
Okay, and we will. So Patrick. You know, we're working on this at home and then coming here for a short time and it just, it's just taken us a long time. Could we, I would like to meet with you in person so we can go through this. And Caroline, would you like to, or somebody?
Or at minimum, Carolyn, share your comments with us.
I mean, we could even meet here.
No, that's.
Chris, if you're available, I mean,
Sure, we can find a time.
putting more on you, just,
Yeah.
that's, yeah. I
So
don't
the
know.
policy, the policy that you're talking about is the one that's in the agenda. It
No,
talks about expectations, members, agenda packets, minutes.
no, the policy, that's for our committee,
Okay,
not the policy for the SAD.
where is that document?
It's,
What we've got
we
so
don't, it's
far.
not in here because, yeah,
Oh.
we're just talking about the nuts and bolts.
That was one we did previously.
Oh, okay.
But that still needs to, we need to go
Finish,
through
right.
that.
Can
We
you-
decided just to focus on this first.
The nuts and bolts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and this
you
is for
can-
public
you can-
roads, that we need to have another packet for private, but
Right, good. We're trying to get the. So
yes,
can you email that the policy document to me? Or whatever the current machination of the policy.
the
document.
SAD policy.
What was the last meeting where we had that actively?
Was that is the last
Presented.
meeting?
Was it 2 meetings ago?
Let's buzz that down.
So this is April, I think it was February, January,
Was it
February.
February?
Oh,
So it would
sure,
be in the
yeah,
agenda
just go
packet
to-
for
So if
February?
you went into the agenda minutes in on the website.
Are you
and
inside?
fished through them
On
really
the-
quickly, it would
The
probably
road
fall out.
committee website. I'm looking at
That's a
the
great way to do it.
January, February and March meetings.
Yeah, so,
So that agenda packet for February?
well, just click on the agenda. One of the agendas,
And see if you can find policy.
yeah, and then when you click on it, that should open. If you open up the packet itself, it takes a while to load. And then you have to scroll down.
So it should say policy.
SAD policy.
February did not have it.
I thought it was this year that we looked at it. It was December.
At any
Or,
rate,
January.
it would be in there.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so, policy revisions. So, Ian, yeah, I think I forwarded Ian's, and I can't see, I mean, he polished it up. he said he did, and I trust that he did. And I didn't compare it to mine, but I did read through his and it looks good. There was only a couple of, or it was one or two things that.
So is the one that's here yours, and the one that you sent us that was Ian's is a separate document?
Yes, I emailed that and I think I did upload it though into I did.
He had, again, a couple of really nice polished.
Oh, he had he made the bullet points.
Mhm.
Yes. Oh, good. Yeah. Now, the only thing, on the second page, go down to the third paragraph. At the next meeting, the committee will approve the minutes and the minutes secretary shall submit. Well, at the next meeting, the committee will amend if necessary and approve. And this is important because if we amend the minutes, we have to keep the original and plus the corrected by statute. So I just wanted to put that in there.
But when you keep the originals, they're still the draft minutes and what they accepted.
It still has to show the correction. It has to show the old
I
and
just,
the correction.
Christie, when she's posted them in the past to the website, has only posted one set of minutes. It's not actually something that's come.
Right. So what you do, if, let's say chair was spelled wrong, then that would have a strike through and then chair would be corrected. The right spelling would be next to it.
Oh, so not two different documents, just amended in the
Yes.
document itself. I understand. Good. I just want to make sure we're doing it correctly as we're posting.
Oh, yes. No. So so we send the draft to Christie, she posts that online, and then when we amend or approve, then we send it to her for her to upload. Yeah,
I've actually done that wrong in the past, so thank you.
well, yes, and that's, I was reading through it. The Open Meetings Act, and it said that. So I don't know how, we don't do our own minutes, for the board, it is sent out to a transcriber. And if I remember, then she puts, all the corrections up at the top, so it just as long as the corrections are in there somewhere. I mean, it looks a little bit better than having strike throughs everywhere. So, Patrick,
Yeah,
on the policy under right above communications.
Page 2.
Page 2, at the next meeting, the committee will, so it'd be the third paragraph down.
Yep.
The committee will amend if necessary and approve the minutes.
hold it, slower than it.
Okay,
Considering amend if necessary and approve.
the minutes.
Okay.
And then, let's see, and the minutes secretary shall submit.
So should we be amending yours draft or Patrick's draft? Because now we're gonna have two active drafts at the same time.
Well. Say that again?
We're amending your draft, I'm sorry, I said Patrick, Ian's draft is different drafts. We're gonna have. two
Oh,
moving at the
well,
same
oh,
time
okay.
forward. Is that the same document?
Yes.
Ian's has bullet points, the one I was just.
Yes.
Okay,
And I like Ian's.
I do too. That's what I
Okay,
was gonna say.
everybody-
I prefer to amend Ian's and work forward with that. one.
Yeah. Well, really, this is the only
I
thing.
didn't print out the minutes by next.
He has
Um,
bullet
Print out
points.
the minutes.
Is that the one that's a draft March 2024? Says,
All right, my policies, documents, minor edits, March 30.
Scroll down a little bit. No, that one is, the one I uploaded. I'm pretty sure I uploaded
You want me to go
Ian,
look
so
for
it must be
yours?
the other one.
Do you have Ian's here?
Yes,
I can work on this thing.
yeah, so, but this last sentence will have to be,
Right. We're working on the language now.
yeah. I mean, I wrote down my thoughts here, but I don't know how to,
So if amended, then we gotta finish it up.
yeah, Ian is,
He has a way with words.
well, and he's stuck in front of his computer because he can't do anything with his foot, until, so let's give him all these. We should make him secretary for a year until he's healed.
Okay, so there's the road advisory committee policy and there's a SAD policy. These are two separate documents we're talking about. Which one are we talking about now?
The road, RAC policy.
Okay,
I'm
Okay.
sorry,
okay.
yeah.
Did we
This
say
is,
policy?
this is specifically rules for ordinance of the committee,
Mhm.
because there were none.
Well, we had some, but since we're a newer committee, I mean, they had them in the past, but anyways, we're a newer committee, and as we're unfolding, we're just adding things when they come up. So we just really wanted something that, breaks, and, that when there's when we're gone and there's still this committee, but with new members, they'll be able to take this as their blueprint and then either change it or adopt it or whatever. They don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Okay, were there any other changes?
No, and did you have any?
I didn't. I thought it was actually lovely, quite well polished.
So we would need to have a vote to adopt this, and there's 4 of us, which is,
Patrick, are you ready if I make a motion to adopt the Scio Township Road Advisory Committee policies as presented by Ian Hubert on March 30 and amended this evening?
Sorry, I'm still trying to get back to that document. I was doing the list. Sorry.
The document noted in the minutes as the revisions RAC policies draft.
Okay. So Linda moved. Okay, go ahead again. You can repeat that.
I make a motion to accept the Road Advisory Committee policies document noted as the revisions RAC policies draft March 2024. Prepared by Ian Hubert. With the amendment.
so then we wouldn't name it revisions, we would,
I believe we'd name it 2024 committee policies
okay.
as adopted.
So I guess we need to go around.
Well,
I need a second, sorry,
We just need a second, I think. Just
a second
you second,
for support.
okay. All in favor, say
Say
aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Money involved, I think this one's.
Yeah.
Always go.
And we don't have anybody to, yeah, so. And if, when they come back, the other 3 of them, when they come back, they have to just accept it.
Well, I would say that we could take another crack at it as something more significant comes up.
So that, finish with that one. Okay, so now we're to the task list. And, which I just threw things down on a piece of paper. Just thinking of the things that we have coming up in front of us. Because we're really preparing for the next millage, road millage, but a lot of these have to be done before that. So we're working on the special assessment well, now it's called Nuts and Bolts. For both public and private, and then the special assessment policy for both public and private. Road funding and project priorities, so this is the road inventory list, which Chris Chang is gonna do. No, put you down there, but I mean, we're all gonna work on that. With the CRC GIS specialist, so that's where, now I understand the GIS is just the mapping part of it. It doesn't give us a list, or can it give us a list through that software?
Well, you have a list.
You know, the list like what we had to work with the township wide for those 10 years. Does it have that capability of? You don't know what it,
I don't know that software well enough, that would be a good.
Okay.
For Roy.
and I don't have that old list with me.
So the County Road Commission uses the road software, so the question to ask of maybe Adam Blake or Roy Townsend would be, does the Washington County Road Commission
Chris, could you write this? down?
GIS or have the capability to produce a list for us of the roads that are in the maps? Or is it just the mapping? Probably a yes or no question.
Yeah, and if we look, we took a peek at the utilities GIS, I don't know if that would. I mean, that's a whole other animal. I don't know if it would
Well,
give
the
us the same.
utilities department's only gonna count for where they have public water and sewer. A lot of those private subdivisions have neither, or they're well in septic, and so they're not gonna pull into the utilities GIS, I think, at all. It's gonna be a separate overlay.
So that would, yeah, that would probably just show a map anyway. Okay, so that's the,
Just to make sure I'm asking, so you're looking for a GIS layer, correct?
not a
Or,
layer, so it would be, well, you know, the map that you showed me.
yes, that was in
So-
the quarter, the sections of the township.
Yes, and so if they took a section, would they be able to, just, this is an example. Would they be able to create a list, the roads in a list form?
Can it
Okay.
generate a spreadsheet that's the roads?
Okay.
Yes, we need to show you.
I think I understand.
The
what you're
old,
asking.
township wide SAD and the road list that we had,
Okay.
because I think then you'll understand what we're asking.
How does the data get into CIS if it's not road by road? Isn't it generated,
Well, but
map
then they-
generated from a list?
It has to somehow be, but will it spit it back out as one?
Oh, yeah, we don't know how it works, so. And then we have to create one for private roads, so that's where there's, yeah, we're.
Yeah.
Okay, we were thinking township sections, you know, to break down into categories, for the roads, primary, connector, collector, neighborhood, private, and then there would be private. Even though neighborhoods could be public or private, but there's also roads that are private that are not in a neighborhood, you know, they're kind of just a cul-de-sac off a main road or whatever. Could be only be one or two houses on it, but, and then the type of material, so gravel and paved, gravel or paved. Let's see. That road construction improvement history. So going back in time, we've had some people have said, oh, our roads have never been done. Like,
So again, the road commission said they had some of this data. The question is, how can they produce that report? What does it look
The-
like?
well, the only thing that they can produce is the agreements going back in time. But it only goes back to 1999. But I did find a couple of files here that go back further.
I thought that Adam Blake alluded to the fact that they had some history.
Well, unless it's the only, when I talked to Erin over there, I was asking about my neighborhood. She couldn't find anything on my neighborhood whatsoever. I did find it in the file for,
But you stated your neighbor had the maintenance
See,
done in
it's-
years, and
that
so.
hadn't been done at all. That's what I was told by the old or the,
So it didn't exist because. of-
Long-term
So that's,
people.
that's a problem too. So there needed to be something that said hasn't been maintained, not just nothing.
yeah, so in 1988, it was, they had some type of improvement. But they didn't have it on record at WCRC. The only time that they keep records past 7 years is when there's some
Oh,
type of
okay.
engineering done.
There you go. Okay,
Yeah.
so they don't keep records. past 7 years.
Yeah, so we have to just pull together. So then I was thinking, well, if a neighbor, or if roads, let's say a neighborhood hadn't had any work done, then we have to figure out how old that neighborhood is. When was it constructed? Because that's the last time they would have their roads done. And some of them are like from the 50s. So we could put that in there, you know, that this is when it was created and it hasn't, and then if it had work done 10 years later, we could put that in there. These are just ideas. I just think that because if we're going to start looking at all the roads or improving the roads, then how are we going to figure out which ones to do? And then we're gonna have people that say, oh, I've never had my roads done. So we don't wanna do all the old, like with, and WCRC said the same thing, just like what Matt said. You don't wanna work on the roads that have no work. And then you have these other roads that you wanna, you know, keep maintaining. So there's gotta be a balance, I guess.
So on those really old ones, our data's gonna be anecdotal.
Yep.
Yeah, somebody who may have lived on that road for 25, 30 years and who is saying, I've never had work done on the roads. Could be wrong,
But if we
Right.
start a list now,
huh?
if we start a list now, then we've got a living document.
That's true.
Forward, really, I think is what we're trying to achieve. For that reason.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, and if they've had it,
Don't let perfection stand in the way of progress, but yeah.
if they had it done in the past 5 years and they say, we've never had it done, then we know that there's.
Well, then we know,
scammers.
yeah. And I'm not trying to imply that people would, but
No.
just saying,
They
they
don't know.
Remember, don't.
they don't
know.
remember,
They do.
or, you know, if it was done 25, 30 years ago, they may just not remember that it was done 25, 30 years ago, you know,
Mhm.
easy enough, so, okay.
But usually you'll get somebody that says, I remember, you know, they wouldn't let me in my driveway or depending. So road, okay, let's see. So the road construction improvement history, that's a whole project in itself, is to track down as much as possible. And then all of that leads us to the millage. So then we'll be able to, well, this
But
is how
what's
much we
our
need to have.
target? What's our target for the
Good question.
ballot submission? Cause if it's August, you know,
It's not,
we're in a boatload of trouble.
not-
I have no idea. I'm just
No.
throwing out a date.
because of the fire, and then there's two other, the county millage, at least two other county millages that we know
Town
of.
has decided to push it forward then.
Yep, and it may not happen till 2026.
Okay, well, so that's, I guess, good for us. It gives us some more time, but working just one step back from that, for 2024, we were fortunate that we were able to capture some ARPA funds. We do then need to be very proactive with the 2025 Scio Township budget in asking,
General funds,
yeah,
possibly.
but, you know, not waiting until March to ask for it to be, you know, trying to give some kind of a, we won't have any road improvements available at all in 2025. We will forego the matching funds from. Up with some suggestion that.
I wish they really were.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's something, but
So that's a November thing.
yeah, and they wanna focus on the fire. For November, because it's the big once every 4 years. But, and then there's, okay, the other thing that, so this has come up again. There's a small group of us, there's Jan Culbertson, Jessica, Clerk Flintoff, Kathy Knoll, Trustee Knoll, sorry, myself, Kathy, Patrick, are you in the ESTF group? No, okay, Kathy, sorry, I can't remember her name. She's on the ESTF, she's our our SEMCOG, liaison, and then Oh, and then Manager Joy. So we've met with SEMCOG a couple times. And we're talking about having a transportation planner come in and look at everything to do with transportation. So it'd be roads, sidewalks, bus stops, let's see, bike paths, that type of thing. So we are meeting, we're gonna have another meeting, trying to schedule it so we can figure out exactly what we want from SEMCOG. They would pay for a planner, there's a grant, I mean, then they would pay for this planner, and then we could go from there. So roads may fall under this, and along with bus millage and that type of thing. Just kind of having an umbrella, so that may be able to help with funding too in the future. I don't know.
It would be lovely to say we're creating an infrastructure plan. This is the transportation.
Yes. Exciting. Really, seriously, we're really
We're
bringing
swimming
things
in a
together.
big pool now.
Yeah, we have to. I mean, we're growing like crazy, so. So I did, that has only come up in the past couple of days, so I just wanted to. I didn't want to add it into the agenda packet again. I just brought this to you. Anyway, we have a lot to do before we get to the point of a millage and also next year's road funding potentials. So we need to start. And Patrick, you had a good idea about subcommittees remember I sent you an email? So I think after we have the other three back next week or next month, then we can start breaking these down into subcommittees. And just jamming on things because time's gonna go by fast, especially if we only meet once a month.
It does, and remember that we lost July last year because the first Wednesday, and it happens again this year, it is the 3rd of July.
But we figured that out when we set the calendar.
Good, I was just gonna say, I just remembered
Yeah,
that
we
last
moved
year,
it
that was
to-
we moved it, you're right, Patrick.
Yeah, like a week or the second week after.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good, so, because as I say, otherwise we lose.
Yes, and I think that we didn't take the month of August off.
No.
No, okay, good. Okay, so. So review the task list and what you want, I mean, there's somewhat of an order here, but then also there's things that we could have a subcommittee for the nuts and bolts and then have one for the GIS or something like, and then another one for road construction improvement history. Or if there's something else that we haven't thought of, we can put it on the list as well. But I think that, when we get going on this and completing something, it's gonna go faster and faster.
Well, we have to understand what our target is as well. You've got the wants well written, but what is the subcommittee's goal? Are you trying to create a one-page oversight? Or are you trying to create for the webpage, you're trying to create something that we can use as an educational tool?
Oh,
Well, I just, we want to make it clear.
sure, that's right, because that was in the policy, I think, for the webpage.
Well, I just meant or is it a special, you're saying the Public Act 188 appoint a subcommittee. What is, just need to make sure we're driving towards the same thing, so.
Well, that would be under the special assessment nuts and bolts, so we always have to, for public roads, we have to follow a special assessment, we have to follow Public Act 188. For private roads, it's Public Act 139. So if you're working on the private road nuts and bolts, then we have to make sure that we follow that act. It's a little bit different, I mean, there's some extra things in there that we have to follow, but, and then the special assessment policy, or, once we finish the nuts and bolts, then we can move to the policy. But we can't.
What is the
Wait.
policy document, the SAD policy document? What is that?
That's the one I'm gonna send you to read.
What's
What
it
is-
for?
Well, it's the policy that the township follows, so, let's see. So so that the township, everybody in the township that's involved in SAD, so there's the assessor, it would be the project manager, the township manager, the road advisory, we're all on the same page. And this is what we do, and we have to, there's certain things that we have to do by law.
And it's kind of Jillian's list behind her.
Yeah,
Okay,
um,
yeah,
excluding public act 139, but,
yeah, just take one at a time.
so. Yes, and it's a little bit more detailed than, the nuts and bolts is for the or for the residents,
Right.
because,
You're actually implementing it once it's all approved.
yes, we don't wanna give them, the SAD policy, they could definitely read it, but it's just way too much and more
Yeah,
detailed.
Too dense, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, okay, got it, thanks.
yeah, sorry, you're just so smart, I keep forgetting that you're, a little bit behind with the roads.
2 years thing?
I hope that wasn't a,
No,
Well, you bring a fresh light to things too, which is very helpful.
I really noticed that when she sent her remarks on the nuts and bolts. Oh, yeah, I can see why you asked that question.
and I really like the edits and stuff, I mean, it's definitely much, I still have a few comments and stuff when we get to it, but yeah.
Okay.
Okay, back to
let's
tax.
see. Oh, chat, so. We'll need to. Yeah, we'll need to figure out how to do this because. The SAD nuts and bolts, everybody reading it and then sending in the revisions to Patrick is overwhelming. I mean, it's overwhelming for me when you send it to me and I'm like, oh my God, I have to print it off. And
Yeah,
so if we had like a subcommittee and then the committee could review everything. And also, we could also, with the nuts and bolts, we could also send it to legal and have them look over it, just as,
Yeah, I thought was to do that, as you're suggesting, after we finish the edit.
Yeah.
Completed. And we're
Oh.
all comfortable with, and then send it to
yeah,
legal.
yes.
Yeah.
So there was one thing that in there said 75% of signature or parcel owners. We don't know if that's what the board wants.
Okay.
So I just put a question mark next to that, and then that's something that we could, because really by law, we only need 51%.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure that that neighborhood really knows what they're doing, or,
and really wants. it.
yeah, we don't
Yeah,
want,
what we don't want is divisions in the community. It's the last thing we want to
Yeah.
create.
Exactly,
The 51-49 approving it.
yeah, that's problematic.
so this task list will go over next, and hopefully the three of them will be here. Or
The
maybe,
purpose of going over this is for people to say, okay, I want to be, I'll do this, and I'll
sure.
start forming these subcommittees.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, and then I like having task lists because then I can check off something and go, oh, wow, I've done that. Let's go to the next. And, it keeps us on track. Now, we could set also deadlines of when we want these done. So why don't we write that in, deadlines with a question mark?
yeah.
Okay, so anything else with tasks? Okay. The minutes. So Patrick, you're taking over the draft minutes here?
Yes.
Okay, at the top, we need to have video link.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless we want to take, more detailed minutes, but I
We
think we
need to
should.
state that the meeting occurred at Scio Township Hall. I can't remember if that's got to be on there. Location.
Oh, here's some open meetings act from the last meeting and.
It's the time, and the date, but I don't have to know that.
Yeah,
Traditionally, it's been on there, which is the only reason I asked.
the section in minutes here.
He's just summarized.
Page 18 and on. Oh, it's interesting.
Well, we should have.
It does say, meeting started at 6:32 at Scio Township. If we added the word Scio Township all,
Yeah.
then
Right.
it would pretty much resolve the issue all the way around.
Well. Yeah,
I've just always put the address on top of minutes, because that's, have always done.
yeah,
Yeah.
like the agenda.
Yeah.
What do you put? Sorry.
It'd be like on the top of the agenda, because then you already have it.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And also Attorney Jim Fink, so it's one of, at least this is what I have. Instead of reviewed, he didn't review the Open Meetings Act, he presented. And then he presented, Attorney Jim Fink presented the Open Meetings Act and answered questions. And that's all I have. I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, no, I don't have any problem with the brevity, it just. Small tweaks.
Yeah, and the public comments, I would like some type of, see at the top, he said Rob Pattinson asked about SAD. And then Attorney Jim Fink, Amy Milanovich. But then, the second public comments, I can't remember, because Rob and Paula did speak, but I don't remember what the topic was. But we should have something, because what if they're, like Amy Milanovich, Park Ridge Road, special assessment or something, just to, so that in the future, when somebody looks at them, they'll know what they were talking about, because maybe they live on the same road and.
It's too bad Bob's not here to hear that.
Well, we'll bring it up next time, but I can't remember, I think, didn't Rob just does and. Can't remember what Paula said, guess we have to,
Honestly, I don't either. It goes back to the, if we have the meeting link on it, if someone's concerned, then they can go into the meeting and we'll know that the meeting adjourned at 8:39, so they can, scroll down to the last few minutes.
yeah. So. Anything else for the, okay, a motion to approve?
Caroline, would you like to make a motion?
I would approve the minutes.
I will second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chris, you don't get a vote. I feel so bad for you. All right, and then I did include more educational information type things that kept coming in at the last minute. MTA Insights newsletter. There is the article about speed limits. I know people are asking how to lower speed limits, and we can't right now, but this bill is going through, or possibly going through. And I love, in fact, tonight. The new Township Focus MTA came in, so I can't wait to read it. I really like it. So I think that's it, unless there's anything, public comment.
These hands are raised yet. Let's give it a second.
See, we're doing such a good job that the public doesn't show
Yeah.
up.
We're just a little sleepy this evening.
Yeah. Yeah, no hands raised.
No, okay.
Well, before, real quick, before you
sure.
adjourn. Refresh, give it to me one more time, just because it was new to me today. Where the road commission, when he was talking about the road commission. That there's certain roads that they're just saying, they're not public roads to us anymore. You guys are kind of on your own. Tighten that up for me again, that whole part.
So the newer builds, the newer subdivisions.
They weren't saying existing roads that were public roads, they're abandoning. He was saying that now when a subdivision comes forward, it says we want to build a subdivision. In the past, there was a question, do you want it to be public roads or private roads? That was asked to the developer. It was pluses and minuses with that. Now it will be a private roads subdivision, but you will be mandated to build it to the public road
So,
specification.
So the road commission, the current local roads, the road commission still assumes responsibility for. Or they're the ones that are also saying,
They do, but they don't have
if
funding.
they're not a primary. Like a small.
Right, so they under the county millage, they will maintain to some degree, like, dust control and scraping, snow plowing, that type of thing. But when it comes to the actual improvement, they cannot spend the money on it by law. So that's where they come into partnership with the township. Now, so the township, we don't even have to take care of roads. There's no law stating that we do, but we choose to because we'd rather have good roads. So then when it comes to, we can partner with the road commission with the public roads, but the private roads are on their own.
Right, no,
Okay.
I understood that, but I thought I heard something to the effect of that there's just not enough money, so the county road commission is basically saying we don't have enough money for these
Right.
anymore, dot. And I was thinking, okay, what is that exactly? Did I hear it wrong?
No, they're just talking about the newer builds. The new
Only the newer
builds.
bills, not
Yeah.
existing.
Yeah, so if a road in the past was public, then they still maintain it. If it was private, then
It's up to the private.
Yeah.
But we've all had people say, you know, they did snow a week ago and they never plowed my neighborhood. And the county's responsible for doing that, but the county's just doing what they can do.
we're fortunate to have them in our township, so they take care of us pretty well. But we also spend a lot of money on road. Yeah,
Is there just a real broad brushstroke ballpark number? How many subdivisions are in Scio with homeowners associations?
oh, we don't have a
I
list,
mean, is there
but
hundreds? Is there
No.
dozens? Is there,
Dozens.
not including anything new that's being currently built?
Well, you have things like Bandera over off of West Liberty. That's a subdivision that's been there since the 50s. And we have no word to it,
They
right?
have an HOA?
no, they don't.
They don't. They weren't mandated to have one. It depends on what their bylaws when they created the subdivision were.
I was just thinking about his suggestion about reaching out to the HOAs. If you have a subdivision that doesn't have an HOA. But if it's on a private road, then how do those, if HOA is not collecting money, how do those
Each
residents?
lot- Each lot does its own thing.
So Merlin Way, David Reed lives over on Merlin Way. That's a private road. And there, I think there's 10 or 12 houses. So they just went through the special assessment process and they divvied up.
So you'd have to go
Equally.
through a SAD. So if you
No,
had an
no,
old
they-
subdivision with no HOA and they wanted to improve the roads, they'd have to do a SAD.
Or they could get together with their neighbors and say, hey, let's, set aside money for how many years until we fix the road. Now, that's a little bit harder because you're gonna get some neighbors
Well,
that may not want to.
and Caroline's right, they don't have a mechanism to do that, really.
I mean, an HOA has a
fund.
mechanism, obviously depends on who's on the board and how much money they really want to put into it and all the things that Matt was talking about. But subdivisions that do not have HOAs that are, I guess technically,
This
is
is
it, what makes it a subdivision without an HOA? What
There had to be a builder at one time.
It's the way that it's platted when they go to build.
Okay,
If in Scio Township, you want to build a house and you just want to build one house, you have to have a house on 2.5 acres. You must, you cannot put it on a smaller lot unless it's zoned.
2.5 acres?
Yeah, unless it's zoned as a 1 acre lot and you're able to get into that as a residential zoning, but most of the residential zoning is in a subdivision. It's a grouping of homes put together by a developer. They build the road, they sell the lots, and it, becomes then independent homeowners, but at one point in time, it was under a plan, which is the development plan. We
Okay,
alluded to.
okay.
They usually have a
Development agreement for the
Development
newer developments.
What about the old ones?
Doubtful, but I can't speak on them with Scio Township that long, know that the older
We
ones
could
have. a development
probably
agreement.
look and see if we went into the registrar deeds. It's not a question I've ever asked. But typically they'd be put together under a PUD and the state, instead of creating acre, it says this is a grouping of homes. It's a subdivision.
Well, and we could take the township, break it up into sections and then, here's a neighborhood and what's the history on that? Is it an HOA? Because Patrick, your neighborhood has public roads, but you still have an HOA. Yeah, so that we could have those categories.
Chris is just down the street. They have an
We
HOA.
pay for our own roads.
They're private roads.
Yes. We're doing it in sections,
Oh,
phases.
it's really odd that you just came in at the wrong time.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, it's a PUD and it's probably the way that the township should be headed is you put that responsibility and the onus on the HOAs, not the residents of Scio Township.
So
So
Chris,
at least that's-
one of the, I've heard with your son is they did not have space for roads that were the normal size. They're a little narrow.
they are narrower. because
So
you
that
can't
may
park
have been
on
the
one side
trade-off.
For emergency vehicles,
You can do it, but
there is no
you
parking.
take care of your
Well,
own.
it's cheaper for the developer to build public roads, but then the HOA it used to be that the HOA would have to take care of them.
Absolutely.
It's more expensive for the developer to have paid for a wider public road spec at that point in time. But then it would be a county road. It used to be the trade-off.
Never thought about roads like that before, have ya?
No, I mean, actually, this is just kind of interesting because I used to live in a subdivision. It wasn't in Scio Township, but, and we were like the second house of 10 in this subdivision. By the time we left, all the houses had been built. And after it got to a certain number of houses, the developer turned it over to us. And I think it was in our documents that we had to create a homeowners association. That was part of our sales contract, the way it was done. I just never really
And
kind of
that's
thought
part
about
of,
these
it's
things.
part of your bylaws. The first part of it is, this is what the developer is doing until it turns it over, and then here's what happens from there.
Exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
and I remember, because my husband he was the board president of
Yeah.
all 10 houses. Woo.
Well, there you go. Somebody's got to raise their hand and stamp it.
Yeah, so, but that's how we kind of, okay,
But the kind of bottom line of that is it would be great resource to have a point person or a contact for the info at homeowners association working towards the millage informational meetings.
Let's put that in the task list to have somebody create a list of HOAs and hopefully we can track down the presidents or vice presidents.
You can literally Google HOAs in Scio Township and spit out.
Yeah, there's some that didn't pop up though. I
Oh, no,
remember.
No, but I just give you a good one.
So that is a presence or contact person, such a moving target.
Yeah,
So we've got 7 to 9 on Scio Ridge. And Chris and I were on a board and we had to try to keep in contact with them all. And every year.
Do they have an
It was a
info?
challenge. And the only way we could really do it, to be assured of, is the management company.
oh,
The management company.
That's
knew
a
the president
very
was.
good point. And yeah, they always know.
okay.
But the-
But then again,
President's
management
go
company,
for
so
all
you've got to
kinds of-
figure out if it's triad or who it is, you know.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we had this conversation. Gave us something else to do.
Down another rabbit hole.
Uh, we are gonna get there.
rabbit.
Tempting.
I heard red, but I'm sure you didn't say that. You're way too nice.
Well, I guess since no public comments and we answered your questions and
Yep, thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
sure, and that
That
Clock
clock
is
is
wrong.
fast, and I just turned my computer off. Motion to adjourn at
8:43.
8:43.
So we call it the ZBA Apple time,
Ah,
the Apple Watch.
Oh, I was thinking of like apple martini time or something.
You're on a whole different level there.
That's a whole different thing.
You know, when Matt showed up, I said, Matt,